Bridges and tunnels, can we get everybody in the room? Let's go.
Anytime you want, Chairman.
Jim Ferrara? Jim Ferrara.
Absolutely.
Come on. All right, if we can get everybody together, we're running very far behind schedule. I'd like to pick up a little time here.
I apologize.
We will blame transit. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Do we have any public speakers? Murray, you here? No public speakers. Okay, Jim, could you start us off with explaining what happened with Long Island and the bridges and tunnels at the request of Governor Cuomo?
For 3 days, February 10th, 11th, and 12th, the governor requested assistance out in Suffolk County. We answered the call and sent out maintenance personnel, sergeants, lieutenants, bridge and tunnel officers under our SOD division along with managerial support. The men and women that performed that task performed admirably, and we assisted Suffolk County in their time of need.
Thank you to.
I just wanted to say on behalf of the county executive who asked me to personally thank TBTA and all the residents of Suffolk County, we thank you very much for all of your assistance. Some of us actually did get out of our roadway within a reasonable period of time, but it clearly helped. The amount of snow out there was, I had 35 inches in my driveway, and other people had more than that. And the amount of assistance that TBTA provided was exceptional, and I just want to thank you all for coming to our rescue.
On behalf of the men and women that performed that task, I thank you.
Our pleasure.
Another deliverable of the Ferrer-Prendergast administration. Okay, approval of minutes. We have minutes in the plan.
So move.
Okay, do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Work plan?
Thank you, sir.
No changes to the work plan.
Okay. Operation safety?
Page 15, David Moretti.
Thank you, Jim. I will try to keep my remarks brief since we're running a little late. The report begins on page 15. It's an expanded report this month. We cover the month-to-month comparison of December this year to last year, the calendar year comparison of 2012 to 2011, and we look at a 5-year window of what's been going on with our traffic. Briefly, on December to December, traffic for this past December was a little more than 23.3 million crossings, which was a decline of about 1.4%. Decline is attributed mostly to the residual effects of Sandy, particularly at the 2 tunnels, where traffic was lower by a collective 100,000 vehicles. If we look year to year, traffic for the year was 282.6 million crossings, which was 1 million fewer crossings than the prior year, or 0.4% lower. Again, Sandy was a factor here. Traffic was actually higher prior to Sandy by 1.4%, but from Sandy going forward to the end of the year, traffic declined by 1.9%, or more than 3 million crossings. Finally, if we look at the 5-year trend, you could see that begins on page 29. The trend has been downward over the 5-year period. During this period, our traffic's been affected by the recession, by higher gas prices, weather, especially significant storms, and also the price of the toll.
Dave?
Yes.
Have you studied whether it's down on all crossings or specifically on crossings where there is a parallel free crossing not that far away?
I'm not going to say I know I can look that up for you and get you a direct answer, but I'm going to say, given the significant drop from 2008, it's probably across all crossings. But I could actually, I
Do
will
we
get
ever
that
get
information.
DOT's data on the free bridges?
Well, the data comes on a lag, and it's only one number for their crossings. It's not something that you could really do a lot with in terms of trying to analyze impacts of traffic.
Because, for instance, and I don't have to tell you,
Mm-hmm.
if you had a drop on the Henry Hudson Bridge, but you saw a concomitant increase on the Broadway Bridge, you would know something was up.
Yes, you would know that. Sure.
And indeed, that is the case.
And, that's affecting neighborhoods like Kingsbridge Heights and Inwood, and where people are going out of their way and causing traffic jams to avoid the toll.
Like, go ahead.
I'm sorry. New York City DOT does not have numbers for their crossings. I mean, is it just done annually, or I mean, they do counts.
They do counts. They do counts
Yeah.
once a year, and they're reported on, as Dave said, on a lag basis. So you don't actually see the numbers until quite some time after the counts are done. So it's not really possible to look at it on a month by month or even a year by year basis, really.
Well, I guess the issue is, I guess the question that Andrew is trying to get to is, are the number of cars that are coming into the city higher or lower than they were in 2008? If the number is higher and our numbers are lower, that means that people are going someplace else. If the total is down and our numbers are down, then that's a different question. But I guess the first question is, I would not assume it would be us, but does somebody have numbers as to the number of automobiles entering the city? I guess that's the first question. Because then you can go to the next step, is relate our numbers to theirs, and it's not our responsibility to know that, but I think that's the question you're really asking.
And obviously we're talking east of Hudson.
Right. Right.
DOT on the Henry Hudson Bridge that you mentioned has changed the traffic patterns on the Manhattan side of it to provide what is in effect a speedier way of crossing the bridge, then going through Marble Hill, Inwood, whatever it's called on the other side, all the way down to the entrance to the West Side Highway at that point, so that if there's a backup, people are snaking down through that area as a matter of habit.
Well, I will certainly go back and take a look at all of our crossings, as you had asked, Commissioner Albert, and we'll see what data we have from DOT. But
We could just reach out to
If-
DOT and ask them
Yeah,
to provide.
yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
whatever they have.
We will have our traffic engineers reach out
Okay.
to New York City DOT and provide that information.
Yep, okay.
Okay. Okay.
We also get some of that information from the private experts that have been retained by developers along that, like the Target Mall and the like. They did the traffic studies that were required, and they're on file with city planning.
I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Schwartz has it.
He was the
Yeah.
one doing the studies.
Or RPA may have some numbers, whatever it happens to be. Okay.
Okay.
We'll move on to safety. Steve?
Page
Page
35 and 36. So on page 35 and 36 are charts and graphs showing the 5-year summary of customer collisions and injury collisions and employee accident reports and lost time injuries through December. So on the top of page 35, please note the total number of collisions through December is down by about 5%. And on the bottom of the page, you'll see the injury rate per million vehicles has remained steady for the last 3 years at historical lows. Then on page 36, for employees through December, there are 18 less lost time injuries than in 2011, which is a drop of about 20%. And unless there are any questions,
Seeing Seeing
That
none,
concludes my report. Thanks.
moving the agenda.
Page 37, customer environmental survey.
Good afternoon. Bridges and tunnels striped 117,783 linear feet of roadway striping in the fourth quarter of 2012 and 303,098 at year end. This is above the 2012 plan of 250,000 linear feet. Pothole repair is down this year for a good reason. Due to the completion of roadway projects at Bronx, Whitestone, Throgs Neck, and RFK, B&T repaired 3,254 potholes compared to 8,323 in 2011. B&T met its Easy Pass toll lane availability goal in the fourth quarter of 2012 with a year-end of 99.97 availability performance. That completes my report.
RFK Bridge on the Bronx side of it, what is the work that is causing 2 lanes to be blocked up?
It's our ongoing maintenance repair of the plazas. In particular, we try to do 2 lanes at a time. There's very little impact to traffic that way. Joe can further explain the engineering principle behind that. It's an old structure. We try to keep it in a state of good repair through our major maintenance funding. If there's anything in particular as far as the engineering principle is concerned, Joe can answer that.
Yeah, as Jim said, we are continuing a proactive approach to the repair and maintenance of the Bronx Toll Plaza, which, as you know, is an elevated structure. So we're trying to stay one step ahead of any punch-throughs or through-hole deck problems by doing sort of a proactive full-depth repair program in the toll lanes. You may also have seen some joint repairs. We're working on the joints as you approach the toll plaza, and that's sort of part of our sort of regular maintenance program. So that's probably what you saw.
Okay, if any more questions, we'll move on to the Easy Pass performance.
I do, Jim, excuse me. With respect to the tollless or the gateless toll at the Henry Hudson, are we contemplating mounting readers on gantries there and taking down eventually the toll booths? And if so, when?
At the point we were asked to do this by then Chairman Walder, we were asked to do it for a $10 million budget. We used our existing infrastructure, meaning all of our Easy Pass equipment and in-lane equipment to meet a deadline and a budget. We added the particulars for the Easy Pass, at that time, gateless program, and then eventually the cashless program. In time, as we go through with the pilot program, we anticipate a design program that will incorporate a look-see of demoing the upper and lower level for a future capital program. And as such, in conjunction with that, if the design is appropriate, we will move most of our equipment off-site that you see it now, and it will be a gantry system that will be put in place with existing toll infrastructure that you see now, less toll booths. Now you have to keep in mind that the toll infrastructure, the toll system that we have in place is a very valuable system. It's not something you want to tinker with for a complete design build out of a toll system. The existing toll system is well maintained, so we want to keep it in place. Now, with that, you want to make a design suitable for that will give the appearance of an open road tolling that most people request, less the booths and the girders that you see in the vertical position. So by doing a redesign and moving it off-site in a future design and build out, you will see eventually the elimination of the existing plazas that you see now and a total repair of that element of the bridge, which is the upper and lower toll plaza, and elimination of the vertical girders that you see in place. Ultimately, the future is still uncertain as we move forward into this world of cashless tolling. I think that has to be evaluated for many reasons. And I couldn't give you what the future holds, but that's part of the pilot and the evaluation. So I hope I answered the question.
And I presume we're looking to the Thruway Authority's experience as well on their arrangements, like, for example, over the Tappan Zee.
I've read that they were going to do gateless or cashless in their purpose of the phasing,
It's true.
and then they'll make an evaluation based on what's commonly known as leakage, whether they're going to move that forward as a future way of collecting tolls on the bridge. And there's 2 other pilot programs on the thruway that they're going to expand this pilot of collecting without the use of cash and the booths that you currently see. Yes.
Okay.
I think the interesting thing is the toll industry is in a change. Everybody's looking for the movement of traffic, but with that, the effect of collection of revenue.
Jim, the New Jersey Turnpike is using that system, aren't they?
I'm not familiar with every system.
They have toll readers that you just,
But Andrew, keep in mind, it's a completely different type of toll collection system. Open road tolling that's not what we're in the business of. We have a completely different type of toll collection system, and what's useful in open road tolling, like you say, on an expanse of a thruway or a highway, is very much different than a collection system that you might put within the city. There are many factors involved in trying to capture license plates in a congested environment like ours.
That's what I was getting at. I was wondering what their leakage statistics are.
I'm not familiar with their leakage statistics. If you want, we can reach out, but I'm not sure if they're going to share that number with us.
Perhaps, Mr. Chairman, for a future meeting, we can dive into this just a bit more and see what's out there and see what our future looks like with a little more clarity.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Something together, that would be great.
Not a problem.
Two questions, if I may. Do you have any indications yet as to collectability and realization for those who do not pay when they go through Henry Hudson?
At this point in time, I think at the last meeting, we advised the committee that we have been in operation for 2 months. The numbers are not really mature enough to give you any type of indication on payment. We have a 30-day cycle and then a 60-day cycle of payment. So I would say that when we hit the 6-month period in the pilot program, we'll have a better indication of what you're asking, and most certainly a presentation is due to the committee on what the chair will be asking as far as what it is like not only at our facility, what we're trying to do, but other agencies and what they're trying to do.
And secondly, do you have any information yet as to the extent to which there's utilization made of the striped areas, for example, on the Henry Hudson Bridge going southbound, that you've set aside for breakdown cars? Is that actually used for that purpose? Do you have any experience with that?
I don't have the statistical information for breakdowns on the bridge. I know it's de minimis in terms of numbers. There are not many accidents or breakdowns on the bridge. But what we try to do when we're rebuilding state of good repair is to provide breakdown areas on most of our facilities, not just the Henry Hudson Bridge.
I know, but do you have any statistics that show that the utilization or setting aside of that space for that purpose
I can bring
has
you
a useful function?
I can bring you statistics on disabled vehicles that we removed, but in particular the vehicles that might have pulled over for assistance or help that we didn't support. I would not have that information. We don't retain that type of information. So it's useful for purposes of people getting out of their car, maybe looking to see if they have a flat tire or looking for help or assistance or medical, type of assistance. Breakdown information where we tow a vehicle or push a vehicle off the facility, I can bring back at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, moving along.
The Easy Pass Report 47.
Thanks, Jim.
Don?
In 2012, our year-end market share was 81.7%, which was our highest year-end share ever. It was 80.2% last year, which was also our highest at that time. EasyPass accounts at the end of the year reached almost 2.4 million, which is 12% higher than the previous year. More than 7,600 Easy Pass on the Go accounts were opened in December, which is more than half of all the accounts opened for the month. And for the year, about 117,000 on the Go accounts were opened, which is more than half of the total for the entire 2012. And these on the Go numbers, as we've been discussing, continue to be helped by the in-lane tag sales, and approximately 152,000 on the Go tags have now been sold in the lane since the program began. That concludes the Easy Pass report. If there's no questions, I'll move on to the financial report, which begins on page 53. This month, our financial report compares our preliminary 2012 actuals against our 2012 final estimates. For the year, total revenue was about $1.49 billion, which is $11 million above the final estimate, about 0.7%, as the mild weather in December was very helpful to traffic and revenue. Total expenses were $378 million, $44 million below the final estimate. Non-labor spending was $157 million, about $41 million lower than planned. The variance was primarily driven by the lower spending in maintenance and other operating contracts, and the majority of that underrun is due to the timing of the Sandy-related expenses for our recovery efforts. Labor spending was $234.7 million, about $2.6 million lower than the final estimate, and that's primarily due to lower payroll expenses due to vacancies. Overtime was down about 0.4% against the final estimate. Next month, we'll be presenting our year-end report, and there'll be more details about the variances.
Don?
Yes.
Or Jim? When will you get, what month will you get the first indications from the new tolls?
In terms of reporting,
Yeah.
if there's a main board meeting, we'll have some March traffic. I can't remember if there's, is there a May board?
May meeting,
May.
is that what you said?
Yeah.
April 20th, I think April's due.
Hey. Okay, thank you.
Total support to mass transit for 2012 was $892.7 million, which was $53 million, more than $53 million above the final estimate. And this increases our support to mass transit since B&T joined the MTA in 1968 to $19.6 billion, so we're getting close to $20 billion. If you don't mind, I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to skip 7 for the moment and come back to it, and skip to number 8, which is the 2013 adopted budget and financial plan. It's an information item. It begins on page 77. Includes a monthly allocation of the 2013 expenses, revenue, and traffic for the purposes of reporting actual results on a monthly basis to the board. The adopted budget incorporates all of the MTA adjustments that were presented in the November financial plan, adopted by the board at the December meeting. And these adjustments include the toll increase that was implemented on March 3rd, which is expected to generate about $95 million in 2013 and about $112 in 2014 and 15.
I'm sorry. Just as when the transit fare goes up, there is some expected fall off.
Yes.
Does this figure allow for
Yes,
some?
it does.
It does
Yes,
allow
it
for
does.
it
The
fall.
elasticity of traffic is factored into
Great,
the revenue
thanks.
projections for the year. The adopted budget also includes total operating losses of about $59 million. That's about $25 million in revenue, $34 million in expenses, and of course those are associated with Tropical Storm Sandy. It also includes reimbursements totaling about $56 million that are expected from insurance and FEMA over the 2013 to 2015 period. This also includes reimbursements from insurance and FEMA totaling $400,000 for expenses associated with Tropical Storm Irene. It includes electricity expenses beginning in 2014 that have increased by just under $500,000 to incorporate a FERC ruling that will result in higher power authority charges. And then finally, a technical adjustment to fund additional credit card fees from higher Easy Pass tolls associated with the toll increase, and they go up about $1.5 million in 13 and a little more in 14 and 15. That includes the the adopted budget financial plan. If there's no questions, I'll move back to number 7, which is an action item for the B&T operating surplus. It begins on page 67. It's a staff summary that includes attachments containing 9 resolutions, and I'll summarize them very briefly as follows. It's resolutions to certify and transfer $497,642,783 in 2012 operating surplus to the MTA and New York City Transit pursuant to Section 1219A2B of the New York State Public Authorities Law. Resolutions to transfer the 2012 investment income of $135,889,000 to the MTA pursuant to Section 569C of the Public Authorities Law. Resolutions to deduct from fiscal 2013 operating revenues of TBTA in the amount of $25,415,000 to be deposited into a necessary reconstruction reserve, which was adopted by board resolution on March 29, 1968. And money credited to the reserve will be applied to the payment of the costs and expense of current and anticipated necessary construction of TBTA facilities. It includes resolutions to deduct from fiscal 2013 operating revenues and set aside a special account into an amount determined from time to time to help fund post-retirement liabilities other than pension benefits of its employees. And finally, resolutions pursuant to the Public Authorities Law to advance monthly the fiscal 2013 TBTA surplus to the MTA and New York City Transit in an aggregate amount not to exceed 90% of the estimate of the sum of that month's operations if available, with the first $1.8 million going to New York City Transit and the remaining sum split 50-50 between New York City Transit and the MTA, less applicable bond service. Your approval is requested. You'll hear the same thing at the Finance Committee.
I could have saved you all that talk when I would have moved this as soon
I'm
as
sorry.
you started, but I'll move it.
I think I'm required to read it, otherwise I would have.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'm going to second it because at subways and buses, we aren't used to operating surplus, and I thank you very much for contributing so much, most of which goes to us, so thanks, you guys.
Question myself.
So did I, but you want to go ahead and take yours first.
Okay.
I noticed that in terms
Put your
of
microphone on, Ellen.
the moving of the surplus, which is in the neighborhood of $900 million, is broken down into 497 operating surplus and then 600 million going to debt service. Now, I know that the debt service for B&T is about 200 million. Is that remaining 400 million for debt service for transit?
That's correct.
And Long Island Railroad and Metro North?
That is correct.
Is this the way that we normally break this out when we do?
Support to mass transit includes both the surplus for operating subsidy and support to mass transit. So
All right,
whenever we report the support to mass transit number includes both numbers.
All right, so this is the way that traditionally that we do this?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
I had the exact same question, answered, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I understood why the two numbers were different.
It's a good question.
And now that I know why the two numbers are different.
Thank
you, sir.
Okay, with that, page 101, the
You
capital
want to vote?
program.
You want to vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Page 101, capital program. Joe?
Good afternoon. The capital program report can be found on page 101 of the book. Through February, Bridges and Tunnels has committed almost $1 billion out of our $2.1 billion 10-14 capital program. This year's commitment plan reflects an additional $323.6 million in planned commitments. The 2013 plan includes 102 separate task commitments. Major commitments this year include a construction of a new bus high-occupancy vehicle ramp at the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, miscellaneous structural repairs and painting at the Verrazano Bridge, and a substructure repair project at Marine Parkway Bridge. Year to date, we've committed 23 tasks with a cumulative value of $14.7 million, and this tracks very closely with our planned commitments for the first 2 months of the year. The most significant commitments made year to date include a miscellaneous structural steel rehab project at Marine Parkway Bridge and a tunnel inspection and rehab project at the Queens Midtown Tunnel. Our 2013 completion plan includes project completions with a cumulative value of $51.2 million. These completions include 2 structural rehab projects at Henry Hudson Bridge. These projects are currently on schedule to meet their planned completion dates this year. Unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Jim may have answered this before. Are you planning to do, as part of that project you have now, any plaza configuration change on the Henry Hudson?
No, the current construction that you see on the upper level roadway, we're not, as part of that project, which is going to be complete in the fall this year, there are no planned changes to the toll plaza or the toll booth configuration that you currently see.
Okay, procurements, page 113. Tony?
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon. There are 14 procurements this month totaling about $12.65 million. There is one non-competitive procurement, which is on page 116. It is a 3-year joint miscellaneous service contract with Bridges and Tunnels and Long Island Railroad and the New York State Industries for the Disabled, or NYSID, to provide on-site document destruction services at the agency's facilities. American Security Shredding Corporation, an associate member of NYSID, will pick up materials at the agency's locations and destroy the materials in its mobile shredding vehicle. Award will be made pursuant to Section 162 of the New York State Finance Law, which requires that designated services be purchased from preferred sources such as NYSID. The total amount for both agencies is $48,249. The next...
That the items be adopted.
Can I ask one question, please, on this item? Do we know if New York State Industries pays minimum wage to the people it employs?
I think that under the New York State labor law, they are indeed required to pay.
The question is, are they paying it, if we know?
That's another question. It would probably be a matter of an audit being taken place.
Could we inquire at some appropriate point, please?
Sure.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Question for Tony. You mentioned that those documents are shredded in their mobile vehicle.
Yes.
So after they're picked up, they're shredded right away?
Yes, they're on site.
On site.
Shred, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The motion is for all procurements?
Yep.
May I-
Okay.
But there is one thing I would like to add for the record, though, on the
Highlight.
ratifications, if I may?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to mention that there are 8 ratifications on pages 126 through 131, and all were processed and awarded for a total value of $825,300 as a result of Superstorm Sandy. I want to direct your attention to page 130 of the book. In the discussion, it reflects that electrical work was performed at the Bronx Whitestone and Cross Bay Bridges and at our 2 tunnels. However, there is an inadvertent omission regarding the work. Additional electrical inspection, testing, and restoration services were performed at 3 other facilities: the Marine Parkway, Verrazano Narrows, and RFK Bridges. Please note that the amendment value of $370,000 under the contract remains the same. I just wanted to add that for the record.
So just the scope changed, not the price?
Yeah, we got more for the money.
Fine, okay.
In effect.
Okay.
I still move that all procurements be adopted.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carries.
And lastly, I'd like to refer the committee to page 133, where you'll see the diversity report for your review and comment.
All right. Anything else? Any other new business? Do we have a motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies.